call this meeting of the Southwest Licking School Board of Education to order. It is October 20th at 7:01 p.m. in the Board of Education meeting room. I'd like to recognize all of our visitors in the room and also watching online. If you'll please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, this is Mrs. Scher from Watkins Intermediate School, and our 5th grade class is going to lead us in the pledge tonight. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll just favorite teachers.
Mr. Jones, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Engel.
Here.
Mrs. Moore.
Here.
Mr. Vincent.
Here.
Mr. Zani.
I'm here.
Mrs. Spindler.
Here. We have a quorum and we'll continue. There's no public participation this evening? And so then that brings us to F, adoption of the agenda.
Motion to approve agenda?
Second.
To adopt?
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Engel.
Yes.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. That motion passes. Item 2A, continuous improvement plans for the K-3 and Watkins Intermediate School.
Well, last month, the middle school and the high school presented their continuous improvement plans. So this month we have the K-5 principals here to talk about theirs. You have those in front of you, and you will see that the strategies are the same that the middle school had because we chose those and adopted those as a district. So each principal will talk about their respective building and what they're doing under each of those strategies to make those come true by the end of the year by whatever goal they have set for themselves. So we will start tonight with Etna.
Good evening. I'm
Hello.
Susan Cottle. I'm the principal at Etna. Under Strategy 1 of Student Learning, we will provide focused professional development on the science of reading strategies and district-adopted curriculum such as Haggerty and Foundations, and collaboration time to analyze student data to improve, to inform and plan instruction. Structure data meetings to progress monitor students, specifically our subgroups and students in our MTSS process, using diagnostic assessments such as Acadience and reflect how instructional strategies are impacting student learning. Under Strategy 2, we will use data such as STAR, DRA, Lexia, and ESGI to develop individual student growth goals. We need consistent use of our WIN block to implement research-based strategies to address specific skill gaps identified through progress monitoring. Use 3 specific high-yield strategies in all of our classrooms to support our EL subgroups, those being total physical response, realia, and sentence frames. In Strategy 3, we use individual grade level and vertical trend data to determine root cause of instructional gaps and develop action steps. For our student experience, under Strategy 1, we will communicate student opportunities with parents, students, and stakeholders while targeting specific groups of students who are disengaged, those that are at risk, those that are attendance issues, and identified in our Kids in Crisis. For Strategy 2, we will annually administer a PBIS Tier 1, 2, and 3 TFI and use the data to provide professional development for our staff related to identified areas of need. We will maintain training and implementation for new staff on PBIS practices and expectations such as PACS and our SEL lessons. For Strategy 3, we'll identify the reasons for excessive and habitual truancy, and we continue to work with the district and community partners to provide wraparound services for families in need and increase student attendance. Any questions?
What is the truancy at Etna? Is it
Right now, we have 4 students that we have issued letters
Okay.
to. Last year, obviously, because of still a lot of stuff with COVID. So this year, right now, like we said, we have 4. And with having our new truancy officer, it has been amazing. So he has made home visits. So that has been very effective.
okay? Thank you. Thanks.
KIRKERSVILLE. We'll start under strategy 1 there. We're going to provide professional development and resources to focus on decoding. Use this data to improve our instructional planning, focusing on phonics and again the specific area of decoding. We're going to structure our data meetings to progress monitor students using diagnostic assessments and student observations in order to structure our classroom instruction. So we've provided some extra resources for teachers to code both books. We're piloting a new program in one classroom each grade level called Secret Stories as well to support some of our foundations that we already do. Under strategy 2, again, we're going to use that STAR and ESGI reports to develop achievable growth goal. Also, all teachers have put a literacy goal in their professional growth plans through OTES, so something, again, we can focus on literacy. And under strategy 3, use individual, grade level, and vertical trend data as well as previous MTSS plan information to determine root cause of instructional gaps and develop action steps. Again, our BLT found that focus of decoding, so we're going to really pound that for literacy. Under our student experiences, we're going to provide research-based SEL curriculum to all students, create small groups to provide instruction on specific topics, school-wide focus on monthly character traits. We did purchase a Character Strong program for all elementaries. It's going really well. It's done a minimum of 3, but typically 4 or 5 days a week. We also have golden tickets at KIRKERSVILLE that we draw out every Friday. Kids come down, earn prizes. We also acknowledge a staff member. We have 2 staff members under the Cool Cats of the week as well. And then we have small groups with our counselors, of course. So under strategy 2, annual administer that PBIS tier 1, 2, 3 TFI and use data to provide professional development for staff related to the identified areas of need. And then maintain training and implementation for new staff of PBIS and PACS game practices. The PBIS team is working through the data from last year from those surveys and making changes. And then also the new staff, I think every one of them has been trained in PACS before the school year even started. Mrs. Holloway, one of our instructional coaches here in the district, really got that going for us. And the last one there, identify reasons for excessive and habitual truancy. We're also going to continue to work with district and community partners to provide wraparound services for families in need to increase student attendance. We've been contacting families. We have 3 currently that we're working with at KIRKERSVILLE that have met that threshold already. And also, again, we're using Mr. Severino for those that are getting close. We send him out to home visits to work with families on what they may need to get their student to school. And we have a social worker, again, is working with some of our groups as well as our guidance counselor. And then we also have the Healthy Kids Network going in all the buildings where we send those bags of food home with families in need on the weekends. Any questions for Kirk?
Just a couple. What is TFI?
TFI is a survey that teachers complete about PBIS, how things are going, and then we kind of analyze that. Okay, are we doing a good job of recognizing students for making good choices, that kind of stuff.
All right, I was just curious. And then I saw you said we provide research-based SEL curriculum. Do we know what curriculum we're using for that?
We're using it's called Character Strong. And it's something that all the teachers have. It's really nice. It sets up. There's a different category each month, respect, responsibility, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then there's lessons. Teachers go in. It's real nice for them. They click on it, comes up. Typically there's like an opening lesson of the week. And then I do announcements as well. All of us do announcements each day, focusing on that. It's responsibility this month. And then you'll see that all throughout the school.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Is there collaboration across grade level, across all three buildings, meaning kindergarten all the way across, 1st grade? So when they get to 4th grade, we haven't lost one specific area of, PATASKALA's 3rd grade. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, they do some of that work in our team meetings on Wednesday mornings. They'll get them all together to focus on literacy or bridges, stuff like that. So there's still some of that kind of alignment between buildings, and they do meet on waiver days. They have some time that they get together. Now I'll turn it over to Mrs. Piacari.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. We'll start with our student learning as well. So for strategy 1, very similar to Kirk and Etna, providing professional development opportunities and collaboration specifically on the science of reading and really using student data to help us inform our instructional planning. Along with that, to structure our teacher data meetings to progress monitor students, specifically our subgroups, our students in the MTSS process, and using those diagnostic assessments to reflect how our strategies are working, how they're impacting student learning, and any changes that we need to make. For strategy 2, using STAR reports to develop achievable growth goals for all students. For strategy 3, using individual grade level and vertical trend data to determine those root causes of gaps and to develop action steps. So, not only that horizontal alignment, Ms. Engel, that you were just talking about, but vertically as well within the grade levels. And for student experiences under strategy 1, one of our goals is to communicate student opportunities with students and parents. How can we get students engaged with things that we're doing at the school while targeting specific subgroups who we feel might be disengaged. For strategy 2, annually administer those PBIS tiered fidelity inventories and using that data to provide professional development in areas where we feel like we can improve. And along with that, maintaining implementation of new practices for new staff on practices and expectations as well. And then for strategy 3, same as us, it's the same for us as Kirk and Aetna, trying to identify the reasons for excessive and habitual truancy, and really working with people in the district and wraparound services to provide for families in need to increase student attendance.
Do you know Pat's numbers?
6.
6.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, the intermediate school. So ours are fairly similar, but we expand a little bit as they move to 4 or 5. Starting off with the student learning, targeting specific subgroups, gifted, special education, EL, MTSS. Teachers use the data meetings to analyze student data, inform instruction. Those 4 areas are the hardest growth areas to move. Those are what we hone in on, looking at those kids as they grow through the course of the year. There'll be professional development opportunities for collaboration to increase content knowledge and strategies to provide intervention enrichment. Those happen at our TBT meetings, at waiver days, professional development days. Strategy 2, in collaboration with students, measurable goals will be set through diagnostic assessments, and growth will be tracked in student portfolios to inform future instruction and learning. We started these at the beginning of the year. Teachers review diagnostic data. They also use this for our PACS program and PACS qualities that goes underneath the characteristic of a successful learner. And the kids self-reflect, and teachers reflect with them twice a quarter. We also have a 30-minute MTSS block that we have continued from last year. And then going into strategy 3, using individual grade level and vertical trend data to determine root causes of instructional gap and develop action steps. The student learning experience as we move forward, creating teacher-led clubs as part of the Leader in Me program that will operate on a monthly basis during the school day. This is new this year. We just finished one today. From at least the student perspective, they had a lot of fun. But we have everything from drama, sign language, cooking, engineering. We have a ton of different opportunities that students they don't have to leave the school building to experience, and they have an opportunity to choose those. We also are continuing our SEL lessons. I know that elementary has a program. Dean Balmer, our guidance counselor, has created lessons that over the last 3 years we tweaked, and we actually piggyback it 3 days a week at lunchtime as well. Strategy 2, providing continual training and support for our PBIS implementation. That's continual, and administering you guys heard this before, the TFI, tiered fidelity inventory. So it would be to use data to provide professional development for staff related to their areas of need. And then finally, in strategy 3, targeting specific groups of students who are disengaged, at risk, and attendance to provide interventions in those wraparound services. It has been great having Sev on board as a truancy officer, and we're having the lead social workers, fantastic this year, incorporating NIAP into, along with BHP, and like Mr. Worman headed at HKN as well, to support that with kids. But the more resources we give them, the more we're able to meet those kids' needs.
Did you have a truancy number?
We're at 3.
3.
I think we're 3. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Roger?
Thank you.
Okay. And next up, we have our food service presentation.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Pickering, and I'm here just to do a quick food service update for you. All the pictures that you'll see tonight are this year in our kitchens here at Southwest Licking. As you know, we went back to traditional paid reduced free meals this year based on eligibility now. Milk prices did remain the same as they were before COVID hit. So we're still at $1.25 for breakfast, $2.75 for elementary lunch, $3 for middle school, and $3.25 for high school. We didn't change that at all. We are still doing a la carte snacks and drinks, and they are available to all grades K through 12. As you can see on here, what I listed out was what our meal counts are. So it's going to show you for breakfast per day what it was before COVID hit, and then last year when we were free, and then this year. So we were at okay, it's kind of durable there. We were at $4.50 before COVID hit, and then in 2021-22, when we were free, it went up to $16.85, which is expected, and we were expected to come back down, but we're still higher than we were before COVID at $6.19. And then you can see for lunches, the same type of thing happened. We were at $17.35, jumped all the way up to $28.90 when we were free, and now we're at $21.29, which is still greater than the $17.35. For our negative debt, since kids do have to pay now, we do have 228 students that owe money right now. They owe $1,000.96. So these are people that are coming through the line but have not applied for free and reduced and are not bringing in money. We have decided that we are still feeding every child that comes through. We're giving them a regular lunch when they come through the lunch line, and then it's our responsibility to just try to follow up with them, try to talk with the parents to see if we can get them to apply for free and reduced and try to get that debt down. We do have a donation account set up for each of our schools. We don't reach into that right away until we've had time to be able to try to collect on that debt, and then we'll probably settle up with it maybe at the end of the semester to try to work some of that out. There's our eligibility percentages for our district, so you can see we're at 31%. That's a little bit lower than it was recently because in October 1st is when all the students from last year that rolled over that were free and reduced, they fall off. And so it was a little bit higher, and then it's down now, but that will come up again once parents actually start applying again. Our a la carte sales are up 52% this year, which is good. The end of September last year, we were 32,000, and now we're up to 48,000, which was kind of surprising because we thought when people were paying now that they wouldn't be spending as much on snacks, but it looks like they still are. They like those. We are having challenges still with food prices and availability, like you've heard about all through across the nation with everything. But even though we are having that, we still are able to offer 3 to 4 entree choices at our K through 5, 5 to 6 through middle school, 6 to 7 at high school. We did currently attend the GFS Food Show and the School Nutrition Association event that occurred in October, just to kind of get some ideas for some new food products and to network with some other food service people. So that was pretty good. We did find a lot of new products, but again, availability, they're telling us this might be coming, but we can't get it to you just quite yet because of some of the challenges. These are a couple new products that we just picked up quickly that were available. The one on the left is actually a meets the half cup fruit component. It's a little slushy that the kids can have. And then the one on the right are just these educational little cookies that they have. These ones are in English and Spanish. They have some president ones and all different types of categories. Outside vendors this year, we only have Jets and Domino's. Little Caesars dropped out, Donato's dropped out for other schools as well. They just couldn't keep up with their labor force and with pricing. We did reach out to Pizza Hut. We are going to try to bring them on board in January. We're still waiting. They're trying to work out some things with labor as well. We did look at some other places too, and so have other schools, but it's kind of difficult because just for instance, like Oxby's, their wings come directly from GFS, which is where we get all of our food. So if we buy from Oxby's, we're getting the markup of them and then having to serve it, and then we're trying to keep the price point good for our parents, so it makes it kind of difficult for that. But it's still something that we're looking into for the future if something should arise. October 10th through the 14th was our National School Lunch Week, so we had some contests in our buildings and introduced some new foods just to kind of highlight our program to get some more people looking at it. These are just some cafeteria lines just to show you some of the selections. On the right, you can see there's our yogurt parfait and chicken croissant sandwich, and there's some ice cream back there. And then at the elementary school with some chicken sandwiches, pizza. I hope you guys aren't hungry. Some pizza, some French fries, and all sorts of different vegetables and fruits. For our compliance report, I just kind of want to put out, obviously our menu does follow the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program. The thing that did change this year is that they required us to do 80% of our grains have to be whole grain. Last year it was 50%. So that is kind of one change that we had to do this year. And then coming up, you can see at the bottom, the sodium changes are coming that we're going to have to decrease it by 10% starting next year. So, and that might continue to happen and decreasing. So it's just something that we have to look at each time we get food, and we have to just make sure that we're serving what they are requiring us to serve. And lastly, we do still offer versus serve. So we give the kiddos 5 food groups, and they have to pick at least 3, and one of those 3 have to be a fruit or a vegetable. We do stick to the smart snack guidelines, so everything that we serve has to follow that throughout the school day. And this last picture is just a couple of our groups. So we have the high school crew up there at the top, and then Etna Elementary. And everybody just wants to thank you all for your support. Do you guys have any questions for me? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the library presentation.
Good evening. Thanks for having us again tonight. We hope we're here tonight to present some, site outside for you, and then inside to hopefully answer your safety, security concerns and questions that came up at the last meeting. So I'll let Brian run through that, and then share some information with you as far as a lease agreement goes after that.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is just a hard copy of what you're going to see on the screen.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So up on the screen is a Google Earth image of the immediate site. What we wanted to demonstrate was separation, vehicular as well as pedestrian separation for buses, parent drop-off pickup, as well as the library patron vehicular traffic. And then also where the play area is planned and how that will be segregated or separated so that pedestrians or patrons of the library cannot cross-mingle or intermingle with the pathway of the students when they're going outside to recess. So I'll go to this screen on the wall. Green is the parent drop-off pickup, which is the same as it is today. Yellow is the bus loop, in and out, and then the blue or the turquoise is the route for the vehicular traffic to the parking for the library space, which the parking spaces are right there. The red indicates where there will be fencing installed to basically enclose that entire area. So students will come out that end of the building. There wouldn't be any opportunities for any intermingling of library patrons with students. So that's the exterior in terms of safety and separation. If we go to the next slide. So the upper section shows the area the library is intending to occupy. The lower left-hand corner shows a key plan of the entire building. So you can kind of get your head wrapped around the area that the library is going to be occupying. The lightly grayed area to the upper part of the drawing on the board there is the square footage. It's roughly 10,000 square feet, just a little over. One of the safety and security things that we have added, and it was due to conversations we've had with Lincoln County Building Department, what we're going to be doing is you'll actually see two walls north of the restroom that are being installed. One is a solid wall, and that's this wall right there. The other one is a wall with a door in it. So what we're doing is basically creating a room, thank you, creating a room that the library can use as janitor's closet, storage, could use it as an office, however we're going to use it. And our means of egress is going to be through that last classroom. We're going to add a door, as you can see, to the upper side. We're going to add a new door to the outside. So none of, thank you. So this is a new door right here that we're going to be adding. And the egress pathway will be here. The student, or I should say egress, emergency egress, will be this way, and this way, which exists today. That currently exists today. So there will be no opportunity, no possibility of cross-traffic by library patrons and students, any way, shape, or form. On this end of the building, let's see if I can follow. We're adding this wall right here, and that totally separates the library occupied area from the school occupied area. There's currently doors here that will be infilled, basically drywall partition. There's doors here that will be infilled. So again, there is no physical way for library patrons and students to cross mingle. We've reviewed this with Lincoln County Building Department. They believe, based on what we reviewed with them, that they would be able to review and approve this, so we would not have to adjudicate it and send it to the state of Ohio. With an adjudication process, it's a roll of the dice whether it would be approved or not. There's also, I did fail to point out, there's a new door here. That is a required means of egress. This last room here, based on the size of this room, that's not 10,000 square feet, that 10,000 is for the whole brain area. But this room, the size and the potential occupant load of that room dictates that we have to have two means of egress in and out of that room. So we were mandated to add that door. And then the next slide shows a furniture layout of how the space will be laid out for temporary use by the library. The main stack area will be that large room at the end. And that is the door that we're adding there. And this is the new door that we're adding there. So that just gives the board an idea of how it's going to be laid out while it's being used temporarily as the library. Any questions?
So
We tried to be as responsive as we could to the comments that the board made, and which we took to heart in terms of safety of students, separation of library patrons from students.
Go ahead, John.
No, just the only way in and out. So the school will be completely separate from the library.
That's correct.
So I know last time we talked about there possibly being a door that the library and the school would have that's
gone.
That's gone.
okay.
My question is, this new door on the corner in the back, that is the back side of the school, like it facing the tennis courts?
That faces, if you go back to the site plan,
Yeah.
that door, that new door will be right here, right on that corner.
Okay, okay, gotcha.
The fence, when you come out of that door, the fence will keep any
Gotcha.
library patrons leaving from going where the students would be.
Unless they drive in between the parking garage, the maintenance building and around the tennis courts to the other side of the playground.
Yeah, that's probably,
But yeah, it's,
Yeah, and I don't think that door is gonna be used unless it's
that's-
emergency reason.
Yeah.
It'll be alarmed too, so if it does
Okay.
get opened,
yeah.
There'll be an alarm on it that goes off.
Yeah, I would have a push bar panic device and alarm, and people will only use it in emergencies.
Where is the main entrance and exit to the library?
It is the vestibule, the double set of doors,
On the side?
right
No.
up here.
Oh, okay. That's also a new entrance.
That's existing.
That's existing.
Oh, it's the old drop-off from like 5 years ago entrance. Okay, gotcha.
And unless there is an emergency, that is the only way people are going in and out,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are we going to be using any of these rooms that aren't shaded?
Yeah, those will be used.
They
by
will
us.
be used, okay.
I don't have any other questions. No. That answered my question.
So, do you want me to go first, Jeff? or-
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we were able to work out an agreement between Rick, myself, and Jeff that would cover the cost of utilities and some additional expenditures, a rental fee, et cetera, that both the library and us believe is a great partnership and very fair to all parties involved. So I think at this point, Jeff is looking for, if the board approves this, so they can get moving and make plans, they would start their construction in June, correct?
Right, it'd be site mobilization by the construction company probably in the spring, but we would anticipate moving into this location in June at the end of the school year. And we anticipate 12 months, I'd say 12 months.
So construction starts in June, but you're gonna move in June too?
Well, April,
Okay.
site mobilization in April of '23. So they'll start doing earthwork and some of the stuff outside at the library. But then we would move out in June. We'd wait until the school year ended before we moved
Okay.
into the space.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I know, this isn't necessarily facilities, but was there any further discussion about having a security person?
We probably wouldn't have a security person, but we would have enough staff that we could potentially keep an eye on things during, particular hours that you needed to be outside or, drop off pickup and that kind of stuff. I mean, we can have somebody monitor that situation.
Okay.
Do you need a motion then?
I think we would need a motion, right, Rick, to be able to,
Yeah. That'd be good, just to say you're in favor of moving forward with it, approve the contract or agreement. I don't know if it's all written up yet. I don't think it's all
we don't have it
written
written up yet, we'd have to bring that next month, but at least if the board is in approval, they can get their process started, and we can bring the contract next month to the board.
Okay.
My only concern probably would be, I like what we've done with people coming in, people coming out. My only concern, I did kind of wrap my mind around the security thing. And I don't know if it'd be possible while school hours, it wouldn't be like, what time do you open again?
We're gonna open at 10, because
So-
I think bus drop-off's around 8:30.
Okay, so 10 to 3 if we had security there or something. I don't know, do you guys feel that's necessary, or that's probably my biggest hiccup?
I mean, I felt if they had adequate staffing, I felt comfortable with that, but that's just my opinion. If they had, and during the times of, if the kids were outside in recess and they had additional staffing to help support that, I would feel comfortable with that, but I'm just one opinion.
I mean, if the school board, we can, during recess and stuff, we could certainly put somebody out by that door or close to that exit door to monitor any movement in that area, back in that parking lot too. I mean, if that helps at all, we're willing to do that. We have the staff that would be able to do that.
Can we include that in the contract?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to move forward.
My only concern with that is I actually would prefer that our staff be monitoring our kids on our.
Well, they're not going to monitor our
routes.
kids. They monitor the door where the library
Right.
comes in, where patrons will be coming and going.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, not our
All right.
kids. Our staff will, our staff will monitor our kids.
Okay, I'm like,
No, no.
When we were at
I actually prefer-
Kirkersville, like to present staff member of the quarter, there were like gobs of our staff with those kids
right,
outside.
exactly. That's what there were. There were tons of stuff out there.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
that would be more for the patrons coming and going from the library on the
And
outside.
I know
Gotcha.
gobs is a technical word.
no,
so-
no, no.
Yeah.
There were gobs. So that's and that's why I'm thinking. You know, like people can unfortunately drive through our parking lots anytime. So it doesn't matter if they're a library patron or not.
Yeah.
People can drive around our parking lots anytime. So that's why it's important for our staff to be monitoring our kids on our recess grounds, which I know that
Yeah,
they
they
do
do.
monitor our kids on
Yep,
recess
absolutely.
grounds. That's not what I'm saying. So that's so.
So Deb, you made the motion
To move forward?
to move forward. I can second that. Any more comments, questions? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Can I just add that move forward with the contract language added?
drafting the contract, and we'll bring the contract back to the
Yeah.
board, approve it next
Okay.
month.
Just wanted to clarify.
Well, that motion passes. We will see you next month. Well, we'll see your contract next month. I don't know
might
if
be
you're coming back
too,
too.
Because I think we have a reappointment of a board member actually coming through next month as well. On behalf of the library and our board, I just want to say thank you. I think it's going to be a great partnership. It helps us shave off 2 to 4 months of our construction project with being able to leave our facility and to go into a temporary location. And we really appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 3, request to speak on agenda items Teamsters 413. Southwest Licking Education Association. Okay. Item 4, approval of minutes from the September board meeting.
Motion approval.
Second.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item number 5, financial report from the treasurer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sorry, I was.
Sorry, I was
I know, I was like,
involved.
Mr. Jones?
Included back is the September 30th financial report for the school district. As you can see, we do have estimates in there now, and obviously it's very early on in the fiscal year. But right now we are running ahead of where we anticipate being, but we still got a long ways to go. So it's really nothing out of the ordinary this month. It's just, again, we're doing well, and we'll have to keep monitoring as the year moves on about how we keep moving. But this is a great start, and we're running well so far. Do you have any specific questions?
Anyone?
No.
Are we at $36,189 for subs already for the year? Is that what that's showing?
Yes, that's what the report shows, yes.
And the budget for the year was $36,726. Is that like?
No, that's 36 is for the month of September. 36,1 is year to date. So.
But last year we were only at 16,000?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a little scary.
Hopefully it's not a trend. Hopefully it just.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 6, personnel consent calendar. We have A through J.
Motion to approve. 6A through J.
Second.
Casey?
There's nothing substantial on A through G, but I did want to discuss the MOUs on there for the Teamsters. So as everyone knows, there's nationwide problems with transportation and retention of bus drivers. So as we're seeing area school districts offer additional incentives, different high pay scales, I mean, basically at this point, everyone's competing against each other for bus drivers, which no bus drivers means we can't get kids to school. So it's an extremely important position in the district to have. And so in meeting with some of the Teamsters rep and the union representation for the transportation unit, we're collaborating on some different ways to incentivize drivers to stay in this district. And so we came up with a little bit of a modified pay scale, but more importantly, two incentives, two stipend incentives, one based on attendance, and then one also based on having a good driving record and no-fault bus accidents. So a bus driver has an opportunity to earn both of those incentives quarterly, so not waiting till the semester of the year. So 4 times a year to earn both of those based on a 95% attendance rate, as well as having no-fault accidents that quarter. So they were appreciative of that, and I'm appreciative of the attendance incentive. I was very much pushing for that because, again, we need our drivers to come to work. We need them to be here to help get our kids to school. So we did alter we looked at area school districts and how we can be competitive. We're not the highest, but we're very close to that. And so the drivers were appreciative of the percentage of raise they did receive in that new salary schedule. And through that conversation that we were having came really that we had some other pay scales that weren't even starting at $15 an hour. And as we've seen, what's going on also, you can go work at McDonald's for $20 an hour. Why would you? Well, there's a lot of great reasons to come here, but we should pay people at a minimum, $15 an hour. So we took all of the pay scales that were yet to start at $15 an hour, and we raised them to that starting pay. So that will bump some people up a little bit. They'll get a tiny raise beyond that, but that hopefully will help with our, we struggle sometimes to get bus monitors because of the previous low pay before, the dispatchers, receptionists. So we added that. And then to align with keeping consistent, I is the salary schedules of the mail courier and who is a non-union member, but also classified and was less than $15 an hour. So we just raised that. And then we raised the substitute pay too. We're struggling, I hope it helps, I don't know, we'll have to see, but we're struggling to get subs for a lot of our classified positions. So we're hoping through this pay increase, maybe it'll motivate more people for those positions, so there's not such a burden put on others to help out. So that's kind of where that came from. I feel like it's it's right to raise the pay scales to $15 an hour. I also feel like we need to be competitive for transportation, and they seemed extremely appreciative of what we brought to the table once we finally kind of worked through some things, and they seemed excited at the prospect of bringing this to the board tonight. So I wanted to share that and make sure you guys didn't have any questions.
Rick, this is certainly something we can afford, correct?
Yes, it's actually built into the budget.
Okay.
I went and built in just, if you did approve it, we'd have extra money there, but I went ahead and did, and we're still projecting a positive cash flow.
Okay.
This year of about $588,000. So yes, it's something we can afford. It is hitting the food service. That's probably the hardest. It's the hardest. I think it's about $62,000 a year is what I calculated. So we just got to keep an eye on that. But again, she's struggling to find people for that position, substitutes. We think it's the right thing to do for everybody across the board.
Any other questions? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 7, A through D, I think we can do
You
all
can do all
together.
these, yeah.
Motion 7A through D.
Second.
First one's tuition rate. Again, this is set by the state. We have no say in it, but if we don't currently have any tuition students, we don't charge anybody tuition. But if we did, we'd pay we'd charge $779.91 a month, but we don't, but we have to approve it. Do you want to talk about bus routes?
That's just the annual approving of the routes. There's nothing noteworthy on that, unless you have any questions.
Resolution of necessity, again, we're addressing some students who necessarily, it doesn't make sense for the school district to transport these students cost-wise, distance-wise, everything like that. And then D is our insurance renewal. Met with our insurance committee, went through, got various quotes, ended up coming in with renewing with Medical Mutual for 8% increase. Last year we were at 0. At this point, we're running about 108%. And so we're running pretty high, so I think at 8% is really good. Originally, we had it capped at 11. Their initial request was 11% increase. But then we got a second quote, another quote from a company that came in like 9 something. So they went back to them and said, if you want to stay, you need to get lower. So they came in at 8%. And that was a 12% cap next year. That's always a concern going with lower, is that they hammer you second year. But we are capped at 12%, which is, that's good for a district. Hopefully our experience improves and we don't spend 108% where we're at right now, but it is what it is, the claims. Dental is also running really high, and they're proposing a 6%, which I think is the max they agreed to. Again, it was way into 120%, but dental is a small dollar amount to Medical Mutual compared to medical. So vision and life insurance are both 0% increases for the next year. So the insurance committee recommended the board approve these renewals with these carriers.
Hey, Rick, I have a question on this
Sure.
insurance. How often do you annually go out and like look across different companies, or just does it depend? Like
Now, annually, they get, when we're doing the RFP process, looking at renewing, they go out and get quotes from multiple companies. So this year, I think they had 3 or 4 additional companies.
Okay.
Some declined to bid, but I forget which one was lowest. It was 9% compared to 11. But again, we say them, but they do it every year.
Okay.
And then the insurance committee, which is for administrative, for teachers, we meet quarterly, go through our experience, know where we're running at, where claims are at, what we're paying, so everybody knows. Towards the end of the year, we shouldn't be surprised, looking at the renewal and stuff. But our insurance brokers, they really go out and try to do the best job they can to get our rates down.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any more questions? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler?
Yes. Item 8, treasurer's items.
You can take both these two if you'd like.
A and B.
Motion approval of 8A and B.
Second?
Mr. Jones?
A is our annual permanent appropriations, estimated resources for all funds within the school district. As I mentioned, basically even for the general fund this year, we went over $50 million in anticipated expenditures. We still have anticipated positive cash flow of $538,000. And that includes there's about $1.5 million in the general fund right now budgeted for the baseball field and stuff. So hopefully I don't think we're going to spend all that. Obviously, right now we only spend about $500,000 of it. So I feel like we're going to do well unless something major comes up. So overall, we're doing well. We're doing well, and I asked the board to approve those. B is transfers. It's the annual, basically various debt issuance we have that's really paid by the PI levy. The COPS issuance, the 2 COPS and 2 PIs. When we issued this last COPS, we knew we'd start getting into the JED money. Ended up being about $428,000 to make payments this year, which isn't bad. They still left enough money I was comfortable with. I think there's still like $1 million unappropriated that we can still transfer $500,000 from the JED into the construction contingency for other projects. So originally I didn't have that on there, but once I went through and looked at numbers, it still looked pretty good. We still moved that money into that construction contingency account to use for things in case things come up. The high school facilities, we have to transfer this money every year into 034. It's used to maintain the new buildings and the renovated buildings. So, and then previously, Lego Robotics, all the donations money went to each individual principal in the elementaries and intermediate. And this year, they requested we create a new activity account. So this is just transferring all the money that was originally for it in the principal's account into the new activity account for Lego Robotics so they can spend it. So, any specific questions about any of that?
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler?
Yes.
Item 9, superintendent item.
Okay.
I didn't forget you this time.
Yeah, thank you. So here's enrollment. I don't want it's coming around.
Thank you.
So if you take a look at the enrollment from May of spring to current, we're up about 91 students. The interesting fact is we have actually had 262 new enrollments this year. So we're gaining a lot of new kids to Southwest Licking schools. We're also just losing kids on the backside. So we're up about 90. We currently have 17 multiple children, families in the queue to be enrolled. So we're on a steady increase as far as that. I believe I talked about last time, but in case I'm mistaken, the kindergarten class, the number is lower than was projected by Cooperative Strategies. But in conversations I'm having with the Licking County superintendents, that seems to be a trend. No one's really quite sure why. So we'll see how this pans out when they move forward into first grade and what our kindergarten classes last year. And those 262 obviously don't include kindergarten because those kids are all new to the district. So that's just 262 first through seniors enrolling in the district. So a steady increase. I will say something I found interesting was we've typically been about 200 students behind Licking Heights, and we kind of continue to progress in that way. And this is the first year that they're over 5,100. So they have now. I think that might steady out a little bit as our housing continues to grow and more complexes are built. I think we'll see a change with that in us and compared to Heights. But I did find it interesting this year that they passed us by a little bit. So. That's that. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay, speaking of enrollment, I've noticed a growing trend ever since the announcement of Intel. There's a lot of conversations and meetings and forums regarding growth and what does that mean for districts. I do feel like we're ahead of the curve because we started with Cooperative Strategies even prior to that announcement, which has significantly helped us out as opposed to some of the other county schools that are currently experiencing this. But I've had multiple opportunities. The Thomas Evans Foundation out in Newark, they are partnering with 15 county, Licking County jurisdictions to have this foundation where they're starting with interviews with local entities and superintendents, talking about their plans and growth and what these communities and districts look like, what they're interested in. So that is something that I'll get to be a part of as we continue on here. In addition, the chamber this week, PATASKALA Chamber, was centered around real estate and commercial and home developments and growth as well. Although my favorite part of the chamber was getting to roast Kevin Miller for our win at the Battle Abroad, but on a side note. And then also we have the United Way is partnering with the Licking County ESC to do a State of the Education quarterly forum. So I'll be sitting on that panel on November 16th, and that will be open, and we'll start putting that on social media and sending that out to community members as well. But that will be an opportunity to work with other entities as well to talk about kind of what's next for our district. And I think it puts us at a good spotlight so people can hear and see all the great things that we're doing here. So that's exciting. I want to share that. The middle school move is obviously happening. Tomorrow We've got students and student athletes and some of our students that are in music coming to help with the move with our custodial maintenance staff. We still have some, like any move or any new build, there's some hiccups and some things that need to be worked out. So we're hoping all of that's taken care of by next week, but then they'll continue with their punch list and fixing the things that, just like we've done with the other buildings. And let's see. Lastly, we now have all grade card information, value-added growth. We were waiting for that before Dr. Moore and Mr. Tancheski present next month, and they'll come and bring all of that to you and kind of give you an overhaul of our grade card. But that, as I said last month, that's really positive and lots of good things to come with that too. So I think that is it. Do you guys have any questions about any of those topics?
I know that as far as the Evans Foundation, PATASKALA and Harrison Township are also involved in it.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I saw the health department there as well the other day, so I think they have quite a few. So it's a good opportunity for sure. That's it for me.
Okay. Item 10, request to speak on non-agenda items, Teamsters Local 413, Southwest Licking Education Association. Thank you. Item 11, adjournment, I'm guessing, because it doesn't ever scroll on my thing.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Engel?
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler?
Yes, we are adjourned at 7:57 p.m.